The D-backs take on the Cards, 1:15 p.m. Eastern start time. The St. Louis Cardinals are minus 220, totals 9. And if you like the Arizona Diamondbacks in an upset win on the road here, they're plus $1.90 for some money line cash. They're also minus 105, catching the 1.5 on the run line. Riley Smith for Arizona, Kwang Young Kim for St. Louis. Now we're 2-0 in our last two board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also 3-1 in our last four board member tier package picks in that very same category. And the good news is we have another board member tier package pick going off here this evening. Now keep in mind here, guys, Patreon's billing cycle is going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you want to get max value for your money, you may want to wait until tomorrow to sign up. And as I usually say in these videos, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. Now we do have over 1,125 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that page is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now the Cardinals have won 3 out of their last 4 ball games. 2 of those victories coming against Arizona. St. Louis currently has a winning record at home, and their lineup is in the top 3 in fewest strikeouts at the plate. Nolan Arenado's in the top 15 in the league in RBI. He's knocked in 52 runners along with hitting 16 home runs. He's also in the top 35 in the league in OPS. Meanwhile, Tyler O'Neill's hit 15 home runs and knocked in 35. They're taking on the worst team in baseball, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Just 22 total wins on the year, 37 games below 500. Now the D-backs also picked up the W in just 10 out of 45 road games. The D-backs are dead last in runs allowed, dead last in hits allowed. Riley Smith is just 1-3 on the season with a .571 ERA and a 1.49 WHIP. When it comes to the total on this one, Arizona's 25-20 to the under on the road. St. Louis saw 5 out of their last 6 road games stay under the line themselves. They're also 26-12 to the under at home against a National League opponent. I'm going to lean toward the St. Louis Cardinals minus 1.5 in the under 9 runs. And I apologize about any background noise. We got the air conditioning cranked up here today. All right, next matchup, Cubs versus the Brewers, 2:10 p.m. East. The Brewers are minus 155, totals 8.5. Aaron Ashby for the Brewers, Jake Arrieta for the Cubs. And despite, maybe a few reservations about Ashby making his debut, this is the best time for him to make his debut because the Brewers are red hot right now. 7-game winning streak, 9-1 straight up in their last 10. The first place Brewers are 5 games ahead of Chicago in the standings. They currently find themselves 14 games above 500. Milwaukee's pitching staff leads the majors in striking batters out. They're fanning over 10.8 batters a game on their home field. They're also holding their opponents to less than 7.1 hits a game as well. They're taking on a Cubbies team who's ice cold right now. 5-game losing streak, just 2 runs a game scored on average during that span. The Cubbies also play their worst baseball on the road. Winners of just 16 out of 41 road games. Now, the Chicago lineup is scoring less than 3.7 runs a game when they travel. Jake Arrieta's got himself a 5-8 record along with a .532 ERA. Now the righties walked 30 batters and currently has a WHIP of 1.49. When it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of Chicago's last 6 road games stayed under the line. The Cubs are also 80% to the under in their last 10 outings. Meanwhile, the Brewers are 22-16 to the under against National League competition at home. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 155 and the under 8.5. Next matchup, Pirates versus the Rockies, 3:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Colorado Rockies are minus 155, totals 11. John Gray for Colorado, Chad Kuhl for Pittsburgh. Now Kuhl's just 2-4 on the year with a .505 ERA. Now the righties' strikeout to walk ratio is just awful right now. Kuhl's walked 25 batters and struck out just 29. He also has a whip of 1.41. The last place Pirates have the second worst record in the National League, and they currently find themselves 20 games below 500. Pittsburgh's been shut out in 2 straight games. They scored a total of just 5 runs in their last 5 losses. This Pittsburgh club also has won just 13 out of 41 road games, and they're dead last in the league in scoring. They're taking on a Colorado club who's 27-16 at home, and as usual, they lead the majors in home scoring. Ryan McMahon's hit 16 homers and knocked in 44. Meanwhile, Raimel Tapia is in the top 20 in batting average. The outfielder is hitting .292. Now, pitcher John Gray comes into today's start with a .397 ERA and 60 strikeouts. When it comes to the total on this one, I'm just not sure Pittsburgh's going to be able to score enough to help put this one over. Plus, they saw 5 out of their last 6 road games stay under the line, 26-15 to the under for the entire year on the road as well. I'm going to lean toward the Colorado Rockies minus 155 and the under 11 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be Rays taking on the Nationals, 4:05 p.m. Eastern start time. Tampa Bay's minus 120, numbers 10 flat. Drew Rasmussen for Tampa Bay. John Lester for Washington. Lester's just 1-3 with a .499 ERA and a 1.53 whip. This Washington lineup's also in the bottom 10 in scoring on average per contest. They're averaging only 3.4 runs a game at Nationals Park. They're taking on a Tampa club who's 14 games above 500, and they also rank in the top 3 in road scoring. Catcher Mike Zunino's hit 17 homers and knocked in 34. Meanwhile, Austin Meadows is in the top 10 in the league in RBI. The Slugger's knocked in 54 runners. He's also hit 16 home runs. Now, Drew Rasmussen's coming into today's contest with a .348 ERA and 32 strikeouts. When it comes to the scoring in this one, 3 out of Tampa's last 4 road games stayed under the line. Meanwhile, the Nats are 30-11 to the under on their home field. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays minus 120 and the under 10 runs. The next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Tigers-Indians Game 1. That's going to be a 4:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Cleveland Indians are minus 200 in Game 1 of the doubleheader. Totals 8. Cal Quantrill for Cleveland. Jose Urena for Detroit. Now Urena's just 2-8 on the year. 6.00 ERA. 1.65 whip. The righty's averaging just .61 strikeouts an inning. The Tigers are also 11 games below 500. And they got the W in just 15 out of 39 road games. This Tiger lineup strikes out over 10.6 times a game on the road. They're also scoring just 3.9 runs a game. They're taking on an Indians club who's 21-13 at Progressive Field, and they're striking out double-digit batters a game at home. Cal Quantrill comes into today's contest with a 3.64 ERA. The Indians have also gotten the W in 4 out of their last 7 outings. I'm going to lean toward the Cleveland Indians minus 1.5 and the under 8 runs in Game 1. Next matchup, it is going to be Marlins versus the Phillies, 7:05 East. The Philadelphia Phillies are minus $2, totals 8.5. Aaron Nola for the Titans, Jordan Holloway for Miami. Now the last place Marlins are 12 games below 500. They're also playing their worst baseball on the road. Winners of just 15 out of 42 road games. This Miami lineup's in the bottom 10 in hits on average per game. And in addition to that, they're scoring only 3.7 runs a game when they travel. Now they're taking on a Phillies club who's 22-14 at Citizens Bank Park. The Titans also got the W in 3 out of their last 5 ball games. And they're in the top 10 in striking batters out at home. Of course, Aaron Nola, he's got 107 strikeouts thus far in the season, 5-4 record, and a .397 ERA. When it comes to the number in this one, Phillies 24-17 to the under in their divisional contests. Meanwhile, the Marlins are 24-17 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia Phillies minus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. Next ball game, Angels versus the Yankees, 7:05 p.m. East. The New York Yankees are minus 130, totals 9.5. Domingo Germán for New York, Shohei Ohtani for Los Angeles. And as good as Ohtani's been, the Angels are still in second to last place in the AL West at 3 games below 500. Now, LA's lost 6 out of their last 8 ball games, and they also have a losing road record. The Angels have gotten the W in just 17 out of 39 road games. His Angels pitching staff is also dead last in the majors in road runs allowed. They're taking on a Yankees club who's got a winning home record, and they also allowed just 3.8 runs per contest at Yankee Stadium. New York's holding their opponents to less than 7.3 hits a game on their home turf. And when it comes to the number in this one, 5 out of New York's last 7 road games did get over the line. The Angels are also 60% to the over in their last 10 outings themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the New York Yankees minus 130 and the over 9.5. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Mariners versus the Blue Jays, 7:07 Eastern start time. The Toronto Blue Jays are minus 250, numbers 10 and a hook. Steven Matz for Toronto, Justice Sheffield for Seattle. Now, Sheffield's just 5-7 on the year with a 5.69 ERA and a 1.66 WHIP. The Mariners have lost 3 out of their last 4 ball games, and they really struggle on the road. Seattle's gotten the W in just 16 out of 39 road games. And they're also dead last in the majors in hits on average per contest. This Mariner lineup is averaging just 6.9 hits a game. They're taking on a Toronto club who's 5 games above 500. And they also got the W in 8 out of their last 9 outings. This Toronto lineup leads the majors in hits as the home team. Vlad Guerrero, he's leading the majors in batting average, RBI, and OPS. The Slugger's hitting .344 with 66 ribbies and a 1.130 OPS. Vlad's also second in the majors with 26 home runs. Meanwhile, Marcus Semion's hit 19 home runs himself, 50 RBI for the infielder. Marcus is currently in the top 10 in the majors in homers, top 25 in OPS. Toronto's also got Steven Matz on the bump here today, 7-3 record with 75 strikeouts. When it comes to the total in this one, Toronto saw 3 out of their last 5 home games get over the line. They're also 20-14 to the over at Solon Field. Meanwhile, the Mariners saw their last 3 straight road games get over the line themselves, 26-13 to the over for the entire season when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Toronto Blue Jays minus 1.5 in the over 10.5 runs. Next ball game, Pods Reds 7:10 East. The San Diego Padres are minus 180, totals 10. Joe Musgrove for San Diego, Vlad Gutierrez for Cincinnati. Gutierrez is 3-2 on the season with a 3.97 ERA. Cincinnati's in the top 3 in the majors in home scoring. Nick Castellanos is in the top 5 in the majors in both batting average and OPS. The outfielder's hitting .342 with an OPS of 989. Meanwhile, Jesse Winker's in the top 10 in batting average, homers, and OPS himself. The slugger's hitting .324 with 19 homers and a .998 OPS. The Cincinnati lineup's in the top 5 in the majors in hits on average per game. They're taking on a Padres club who plays just .500 baseball on the road, despite their current success. They also have Joe Musgrove on the mound here today, who actually comes into today's contest with a 4-6 record. Now, total-wise, San Diego went 70% to the over in their last 10 outings. They're also 22-14 to the over when they bat first. Meanwhile, the Reds are 23-15 to the over as the home team. Give me the Cincinnati Reds plus 1.5 in the over 10 runs. Next ball game, Royals versus the Red Sox, 7:10 p.m. East. The Boston Red Sox are minus 160, numbers 11. Martin Perez for Boston, Mike Minor for Kansas City. The Miners 6-5 thus far in the season, 94 strikeouts in just over 91 innings. Despite their recent struggles, the Royals currently have a winning record against the number when they travel. This Kansas City lineup's in the top 10 in the league in hits on average per contest. They're also in the top 3 in fewest strikeouts per game at the plate. Salvador Perez has hit 18 home runs and knocked in 47. Meanwhile, Carlos Santana's hit 13 homers and knocked in 45 himself. Now they're taking on a Boston club who cashed in on the run line in just 40% of their home games against the American League. Red Sox are also in the bottom 5 in hits allowed at home. Martin Perez, he comes into today's contest with a 4.09 ERA and a 1.44 whip. And total-wise, 3 out of the Red Sox last 5 outings at Fenway stayed under the line. Meanwhile, the Royals are 24-17 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals plus 1.5 and the under 11 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be Mets versus the Braves, 7:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Atlanta Braves are minus 155, numbers 9. Max Fried for Atlanta, David Peterson for New York. Peterson's got 67 strikeouts and just over 63 innings of work. First place Mets have won 4 out of their last 7 ball games. League leaders in fewest hits allowed per game. They're also holding their opponents to only 3.3 runs per contest. They're taking on a Braves club who's 4 games below 500, and they currently have a losing record at Truist Park. This Atlanta lineup's in the bottom 10 in hits on average per contest. They're also averaging nearly double-digit strikeouts a game at the plate. Meanwhile, defensively, the Braves are in the bottom 10 in runs allowed. Max Fried comes into today's contest with a 4.21 ERA and a 1.34 whip. When it comes to the total in this one, Atlanta's 26-15 to the over at home. Meanwhile, the Mets are 23-17 to the over when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the New York Mets plus 1.5 and the over 9.5. I'm sorry, the over 9 runs. Next matchup, Orioles, Astros, 8:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Houston Astros are minus 300, totals 9.5. Luis Garcia for Houston, Matt Harvey for Baltimore. Now Harvey's just 3-9 with a 7.53 ERA and a 1.74 whip. It's either 7.53 or 7.54 ERA, but it's bad. The last place Orioles have the fewest wins in the American League. They're also 28 games below 500. Baltimore's gotten the W in 14 out of 42 road games. That is it. They're also in the bottom 3 in the majors in runs allowed. They're taking on a first-place Houston club who leads the majors in hits and scoring. Michael Brantley's batting .341, which is in the top 3 in the league. Meanwhile, Jose Altuve's hit 17 homers and knocked in 43. Houston's currently 16 games above 500. They've also gone 26-15 straight up at Minute Maid Park. Luis Garcia is 6-4 on the season with a 2.83 ERA and a 1.10 whip. When it comes to the total in this one, the Astros' last 3 straight road games got over the line. They're also 23-14 at the over at home against the American League. Meanwhile, the Orioles saw 7 out of their last 10 outings get over the line themselves, 4-2 to the over in their last 6 road games. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus 1.5 and the over 9.5 runs. Next ball game, Twins, White Sox, 8:10 p.m. East. The Chicago White Sox are minus $1.25, totals 9. Dylan Cease for Chicago, Bailey Ober for Minnesota. Now, Ober's yet to get a win this season. He's got a 4.64 ERA and a 1.31 whip. The Twins are just half a game ahead of the last place Royals in the AL Central. They're also 11 games below 500. They rank in the bottom 3 in runs allowed. The Twins have gotten the W in just 16 out of 37 road games. They're taking on a Chicago club who has the most home wins in the American League. They're 29-13 at Guaranteed Rate Field, and they're in the top 3 in fewest hits allowed at home. The White Sox are allowing just 3.3 runs a game at Guaranteed Rate Field. They also have Dylan Cease on the mound here today. He's 6-3 with a 3.81 ERA and 96 strikeouts. Now, total-wise, Chicago's gone 80% to the over in their last 10 ball games, 4-0 to the over in their last 4 at home. Meanwhile, the Twins are 70% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox minus $1.25 and the over 9 runs. Of that, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup. It is going to be Rangers versus the A's, 9:40 East. The Oakland A's are minus 195, numbers 8 flat. Chris Bassett for Oakland, Colby Allard for Texas. Now, Allard comes into today's start with a 3.33 ERA and a 1.11 WHIP. The Rangers are also on a 4-game winning streak, 6-2 straight up in their last 8. Now, out of the Rangers' last 10 ball games, they cashed in on the run line in 60% of those contests. They're also cashing in on the run line in 60% of the road games against American League opponents. They're taking on a sputtering Oakland club who lost 7 out of their last 10. The A's have also cashed in on the run line in only 7 out of 18 divisional games at home. The A's lineup averages less than 6.9 hits a game at the Coliseum. Their pitching staff also is in the bottom 5 in home strikeouts. When it comes to the number in this one, Oakland's seen nearly 70% of their divisional games at home get over the line. They're also 19-12 to the over in all of their divisional games this season, regardless of location. Meanwhile, the Rangers saw 63% of their divisional road games get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Texas Rangers plus 1.5 and the over 8 runs. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like St. Louis minus 1.5 under 9 runs. Milwaukee minus 155 under 8.5. Colorado minus 155 under 11. Tampa Bay minus $1.20 under 10 runs. Cleveland minus 1.5 under 8 runs in Game 1 of the doubleheader. I also like Philadelphia minus 1.5 and the under 8 and a hook. New York Yankees minus 130 over 9.5. Toronto minus 1.5 over 10 and a hook. Cincinnati plus 1.5 over 10 runs. Kansas City plus 1.5 under 11. New York Mets plus 1.5 over 9 runs. Houston minus 1.5 over 9 and a hook. I'm also leaning toward the Chicago White Sox minus $1.25 over 9 runs. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 2-0 in our last 2 board member tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also 3-1 in our last 4 board member tier package picks on that very same page. I'm going to lean toward the Texas Rangers plus 1.5 and the over 8 runs. Of that, guys, now it's time for some shout outs to our top 10 YouTube commenters over the past couple of days or so. Shout out to Jeff Roblo, South Plainfield striker, Gerald Pulaski. Shout out to Victory US 1, Gino Hernandez. Also want to give a shout out to James Medina, Maya Doan, Eugene Mayo, Blue Collar Man, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my good friend, Jen Cavitin. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And as I said at the beginning of the show, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month. So if you do sign up today, you're going to get billed today and then July 1st. So your best value is to wait until tomorrow. The earlier you sign up in the month, the better it is for you, the more value you're going to get. So once again, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Wednesday to you, happy hump day to you, and I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.